Welcome back to another macchiato item in my collection. I just can't seem to get away from the stitch. I'm really enjoying making all the things using these stitches. And today, once again, I will be using the Wonder Fluff by We Crochet in the bulky weight. The color I'm using is Finley Heather, but honestly, I've seen this in several of these colors so far from testers, and I love all the colors in this line from We Crochet. And this is also what I made the sweater in the child and the adult sizes. So I'm kind of matching that still. And today I am going to be making the Macchiato Beanie, which is absolutely adorable. I love it. Once again, we're bringing in those stitchings. So if you want a matching hat or just a hat, this is such a fast, fun pattern, especially since we're using a bulky weight yarn. The size that I will be making on camera today will be the child size. All of the other sizes are available on my blog. And then I will also be using a Furls Alpha hook today. I'm really in love and digging the Alpha series right now. And I also want to note, I have been using this hook to make everything in the line. The reason why is sometimes if you change hook brands between items, it can mess up your gauge. So my gauge is staying consistent by using the same hook for the beanie and the poncho and the sweater. I also have a pair of scissors and some tapestry needles. So let's get started with the child size. So I just want to note here that this is the yarn left over from the adult size. So it did not take more than one ball of this, which is really awesome. So this is what's left over from making that adult size, and I'm going to start with this for the child size. To do the magic ring, you're going to loop your yarn to make a circle. Then with the yarn that's going over the tail end, you're going to bring that yarn under and through that loop. And now we will put our hook into that loop. And this down here is our magic circle part. And then we just simply grab our yarn that's going to the ball, and that's what we're going to be working from. And we will be working around all of these strands in the magic loop. I like to do a simple slip stitch kind of chain to get started that I don't count, just to get everything kind of wrapped together. And then I will start in the pattern. So in the pattern, I will chain one, and then I'm going to do 8 half double crochets into this magic loop or magic circle. I call it either. I go back and forth on what I call it, magic loop or magic circle. So notice I'm working around all these strands in the magic circle. How many am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 8. So now that I've half double crocheted 8, I'm going to grab that tail end and I'm going to pull it. And notice it pulls that into a circle, and it really gets rid of that beginning hole. Now you can simply chain 2 and then half double crochet 8 into the first chain. And then you can use your tail end to weave in any gaps or holes. Then I will join to the very first stitch in this round with a slip stitch. And that is our setup round. So we are ready to keep going. Now for this beanie, we will be turning at the end of each round. So I will turn my work and chain 1. But just to note, stitch markers can make this so much easier in order to keep track of your stitch count. So I'm going to grab a stitch marker and show you how to use that and utilize that for this pattern especially. I picked up these stitch markers from We Crochet. I really like the colors, and I like how sturdy they are and how well they work, especially for crochet in the bulky yarn. So before I turn, I am going to place my stitch marker into the stitch that I slip stitched to join. So the first stitch in that round. And then I am going to turn and chain 1. This helps keep track to know what is the last stitch I'm going to be working into, because sometimes it can be easy to lose track when you're turning of what is your first and your last stitch. Now for the first round, I am going to do 2 half double crochets in the back loop. So when you're looking at your stitches from the top, I'm going to put my hook through this stitch. This is a little bit fuzzy, so it's harder to see than other yarns, but there's a V. There's 2 strands that create a V. The one closest to you is the front loop. The one farthest away is the back loop. We will be using the back and the front loops alternatively when we're doing this stitch pattern. So for our first stitch, we will insert into the back loop only and half double crochet 2. Our next stitch, we're going to insert into the front loop only and half double crochet 2. And now we will repeat that around. This doubles our stitch count. So in the back loop only, half double crochet 2. In the front loop only, half double crochet 2. Just keep doing that around. Back loop only, half double crochet 2. Front loop only, half double crochet 2. And notice, so now I know that I'm on my last stitch because that's where my stitch marker is. And now I can remove that stitch marker, and I'm going to slip stitch to join to the first stitch in the round. And now I'm going to move my stitch marker up into that stitch we just slip stitched into. And now I'm ready to start on my round 2. I will chain 1, and now I'm going to half double crochet into the back loop. And then it says, the instructions say working in stitch pattern, which is half double crocheting in the back loop, then the front loop. That's the pattern we're working in. I will increase every 2 stitches. So on the second stitch, which is our next stitch we're going to work, I am going to increase the second stitch. So I will half double crochet 2 into the front loop. The next stitch will be a half double crochet, and then the next stitch is my second, every second stitch, and I will half double crochet 2 into the front loop only. So half double crochet into the back loop, and then 2 half double crochet into the front loop. And now as I get to that last stitch, I'm going to half double crochet 2 into the front loop. We've increased every other stitch, which means now our stitch count is 24. And I will join to that first stitch in the round with a slip stitch and move my stitch marker up to that stitch. And now we are ready for round 3, which is similar. We're just increasing on a different stitch. So for round 3, we turn and we chain 1. And then we're still working in our established stitch pattern, which is half double crochet in the back loop, then half double crochet in the front loop all the way around. But this time we will be increasing every 3rd stitch. So every 3rd stitch we will increase. So I'm going to half double crochet in the back loop for the first stitch, half double crochet in the front loop for the next stitch, and then here's my 3rd stitch that goes in the back loop, and I will increase that by adding another stitch. So now that we repeat that, the next stitch I would work would be in the front loop, and then the next stitch would be in the back loop. And then on this one, my 3rd stitch on the front loop, I would half double crochet 2. And I'm going to repeat that around. So I would work half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the front loop, and then 2 half double crochet in that 3rd stitch. This will increase our stitch count from 24 to 32. Same thing at the end of this round. I'll be half double crocheting 2 into the front loop, still in that, finishing that last increase, and then I will join to the first stitch in the round. And I'm going to place my stitch marker to that stitch, and then I will turn and we'll do round 4. For round 4, we will turn and chain 1 and work in our established stitch pattern by half double crocheting in the back loop, then half double crocheting in the front loop, half double crochet in the back loop, and then we will be increasing on every 4th stitch. So I will do 2 half double crochets in the front loop, and we will repeat that around. So half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the front loop, half double crochet in the back loop, and then 2 half double crochets in the front loop. So every 4th stitch in the stitch pattern, we will increase around. For round 5, I will turn and chain 1. And then on this round, we will be increasing on every 5th stitch. So I will half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the front loop, half double crochet in the back loop, half double crochet in the front loop, and then here on my 5th stitch I will half double crochet 2 into that back loop, and then I will continue that pattern where I work the front loop, the back loop for stitch number 2, the front loop for stitch number 3. I tend to just count out every time I have to increase. So the back loop for stitch number 4, and then for my 5th stitch that happens to be in the front loop, I will increase by a stitch. And then that is continued around where we will work in the established stitch pattern, increasing on every 5th stitch. And at the end of round 5, we'll be increasing by 2 in the front loop of that last stitch. It always will end that way on those increasing rounds. And then join to the top of my first stitch, move that stitch marker up, and get ready for the next round. So at the end of round 5, I have 48 stitches. And for round 6, we will do the same thing. This will be my last increasing round for the child size, where I will turn and chain 1. And I will be increasing on every 6th stitch for round 6. So I will do a back loop, front loop, half double crochet, back loop, front loop, half double crochet, back loop, half double crochet, and then this is my 6th stitch in the front loop, and I will half double crochet 2. So repeat that around, working in the established stitch pattern, working in the back loops and the front loops of the half double crochets, increasing on every 6th stitch in the round. So after round 6 for the child sizes, I will be moving on to adding to the beanie length. For the child sizes, we will still turn at the end of every round, chain 1, and now we will be working 3 rounds in the stitch pattern without increasing. So this is really simple. This is where we can kind of sit back and relax and not worry about increasing every so many stitches. We are simply going to half double crochet into the back loop and the front loop all the way around without increasing for each round. And don't forget, at the end of every round, we will need to turn and chain 1. Don't forget to turn. For the child size, we have 56 stitches for every single one of these rounds. So we've increased to 56 stitches, and that's what we're going to have as a stitch count for the rest of this beanie. So kick back, push pause, work those half double crochets in the back loop and then in the front loop all the way around, and do that for 3 rounds, and then come on back for the next fun part. So now that I have worked my beanie length rounds, I am ready for the puff section. I have joined and I will turn just like all the other rounds, and I'm going to chain 1. For this puff section, we will skip the first stitch and half double crochet into the next. Then we are going to go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we are going to work a puff stitch. To work a puff stitch, we will yarn over and insert our hook into our skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We have 3 stitches on our hook. We're going to repeat that little last part again. We're going to yarn over, insert into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Be sure to pull up to the same height. Now we have 5 loops on our hook, and one more time we will yarn over, insert our hook into that skip stitch, or into, and then yarn over and pull up, and we have 7 total loops on our hook, and now we will yarn over and pull through all of the loops on our hook. Now we will be repeating those steps all the way around of skipping a stitch and doing a half double crochet into the next, and then going back and working our puff stitch into that skipped stitch. And then we repeat again. Half double crochet, puff stitch into the skip stitch. Repeat that all the way around. After working this puff round, be sure that when you join, you are joining to the first half double crochet of the round and not the first puff stitch. It can be kind of hard to miss, or easy to miss. So it's going to be this stitch, not the puff stitch. So be sure to join to the first half double crochet stitch of the round. And then once again, I am slip stitching to the first stitch, moving my stitch marker and turning my work. For the next puff round, we are simply doing a repeat. We're doing the same exact steps as before after we turn. So I've chained 1, I'm going to skip the first stitch, and I'm going to half double crochet into the next. And then I'm going to go back to my skip stitch, and I'm going to do a puff stitch. And I continue to do that all the way around. So I half double crochet, then do a puff stitch, just like we had done before, all the way around. So now that I've worked all the puff stitches around, I'll go ahead and join to that first half double crochet in the round. I'm going to move my stitch marker, and then I'm going to turn and chain 1. Now I'm going to go back to working 1 round in the stitch pattern without increasing. So that will be a half double crochet in the back loop and a half double crochet in the front loop all the way around. To work the bottom ribbing, I will be chaining 6. And then I will turn my work. This is worked kind of perpendicular to the hat body. And I will slip stitch across that chain for 5. So I slip stitch in the second chain from the hook and in each chain across. Now you'll want to keep these somewhat loose. You do not want a tight tension when you're doing slip stitches because then they will be hard to work back into on the next row. So now that I've slip stitched 5, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch in the first 2 from the body. So I'm going to slip stitch 2 stitches from the body of the hat. And then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to skip those 2 stitches from the body of the hat, and I'm going to slip stitch in the back loop only for the 5 slip stitches. So slip stitching in the back loop only, slip stitch those 5. And then once you have slip stitched those 5 stitches, Once again, we will turn and chain 1. And now we're going to work in the back loops only. Again, we'll be working in the back loops only for all of these slip stitches, and we are going to slip stitch 5. Now for the other hats, the rims are a little bit different stitch counts for the other sizes, but for child size, we will be working 5 slip stitches on every row. And now that I've done that, I'm going to repeat where I slip stitch the next 2 stitches from the hat body. And then I turn. I skip those 2 stitches from the hat body, and working in the back loops only, I slip stitch 5. And that's the repeat. You just continue to work those rows and all the way around, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to join once you've worked all the stitches from the hat body all the way around. So now that I have worked this ribbing all the way around, it is time for us to join. I've chained 1, and I am going to insert my hook into the back loop of the first slip stitch, just like we have been doing, but then I'm also going to insert my hook into the first loop available on our starting edge, because we have 5 loops along our starting edge and we are doing 5 slip stitches along our finishing edge. So we're going to join those together by slip stitching through both of those loops. And then I'll do the back loop again, and then the loop from the starting edge and slip stitch. We'll do this for all 5 stitches across. Their stitches might hide a little bit, so just be sure to get into the right ones. And now that I've done that, I can go ahead and fasten off and weave in my ends. And that is the Macchiato Beanie. I really love this one, and I will mention that I have a tutorial on my blog on how to make a faux fur pom-pom. But for this hat, this was made during the pandemic, I know, and I really could not get to the store to get more faux fur. So I found these on Amazon. I ordered an entire bag, and I thought that they would be fun to use for this hat. And I was thinking about even doing for the child size something like a double pom-pom, because I thought that might be kind of cute for a child to have like the cute little double pom-pom. And then also I love it on the adult size. And I did like this bag for the variety that came in it. There's lots and lots of different colors. So if you don't want to take the time to make your own faux fur pom-pom, or you just don't have time to, this is a quick and easy thing to order on Amazon. But if you do want to make your own fur pom-pom, which I have done so many times in the past, that is also pretty easy to do, really inexpensive, and you can get the fabric at your craft store. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. Remember, the other sizes are on my blog. I love how this cute child size turned out, and I can't wait for you to join me for more crochet and knit projects in the future.